So today is International Women's Day, which I couldn't think of a better possible day to actually start my full work on my frame for the Jessi Combs Foundation. I'm really excited about this. If you guys haven't heard about it, on the 16th of this month, that's March 16th, we are going to be starting an auction for 5 frames built by 5 different well-known makers. We've all come together to design and hand make frames for the Jessi Combs Foundation. So when it comes to what I'm going to do with Jessi's frame, I have a couple ideas in mind. Each of us makers got a distinct picture of Jessi from Mark Adams. He took these at Spring Make and then had them done artistically on metal prints for us. So this is my print of Jessi. I really like it because it's a very honest expression. So 2 of the things that I really want to incorporate into my frame are Jessi's signature polka dots, as well as the foundation's actual emblem. And so when I'm designing out my frame dimensions, I have to recognize that I have a 16 by 24 inch metal print, but then in each corner, I want to put a picture that minimally needs to be about 3.5 inches both ways. So I'm going to add about 4 inches actually on both the tops and the sides, so that in the actual distinct corners I can have this emblem and a picture. So come along with me and let's see what happens. When you're working with something like leather, especially in a large design, I think it's really important to try everything kind of small scale before moving into your really large, expensive leather pieces. So there's a couple of new techniques that have come up while I've been researching that I want to try in addition to the carving that I've already been experimenting with. And so I think what I'm going to do now is a couple different trials on a smaller piece of leather before I move on to my larger pieces. So I'm going to be trying to do actually some reverse stamping, where instead of actually stamping down the image, I'm going to have it come up. So I'm going to go ahead and play with that. Each of the corners of my frame is going to be a distinct image that I'm going to hand tool. I've tried to pick imagery that is reflective of my relationship with Jessi, as well as who I knew her as and who she was for the world. So for instance, there's a rooster that's dressed up and a bow tie, and he looks like a little gentleman rooster, and it reminds me a lot of the gentleman race that she did as one of the first women, and I don't know actually if there's been a woman since her, but at the time as the only woman that got invited to be a part of that. In another corner, there's a phoenix. I feel like Jessi was one of those women that was always rising and always pulling people along with her, and she just had this absolute majestic beauty to her and her mission that a phoenix to me is really one of the biggest symbols I think that could represent her. The other 2 corners are very desert themed. Jessi loved the desert. One of my favorite memories of Jessi was her speaking at Spring Make, where I was also keynoting, and she was talking about not liking the color pink, and I was sitting in the middle of the room in this bright pink sweater. Later, Jessi sent me this picture of a cactus with a pink flower on it, and she's like, pink's okay in this form. And so I wanted to make sure that kind of that story of the cactus lived on in one of the symbols. I've been practicing on other leather as I'm learning how to actually hand tool it. I went out and I got dyes and I got chroma colors for leather, so I have a lot of options, but I've been playing with them all and they all kind of come out very similar to this, which is fine, but it's not really the look that I'm going for. I think the fact that the print itself has that beautiful red coloring to it is going to represent Jessi and her polka dots well without having to add on more color and take away from the natural leather. The one thing that I really like about leaving it natural too is that the frame itself is going to age as it would naturally, and I think that that's kind of just a beautiful idea and a beautiful look for leather. Anytime leather can be left to its own devices to take on the coloring and the texture that it wants over time, I think it's beautiful. Can I talk to you about sewing leather? So between punching all of these holes and then having to make them bigger with the awl and then trying to actually thread them, when I did it, I'm not a fan of the stitching. I'm just not. It's really scary to say this, but I am going to carve the hide as a single piece and hope that I don't mess it up, or that if I do mess it up, I can be like Bob Ross and turn it into happy trees. I'm really nervous, but I have to trust that I've practiced enough that I can take it larger scale. I have this massive slab of leather that I'm gonna be using to make my frame, and I need to figure out how to attach this to the base. The problem is that attachment comes after the hand tooling portion, so I need to actually hand tool it and then attach it, which means I'm gonna be cutting into leather before I even have it affixed to where it's going. So I think my solution is gonna be to oversize all of my pieces and then attach them. And then from there, start building out the whole frame. Being a woman in a shop isn't normalized. We need to get every dollar that we can to the foundation, because what they're doing in Jessi's honor is amazing. These makers have all come together because Jessi Combs impacted each one of us. You can't really have met her for more than a second and not know her and not be impacted by her and not be pulled into the awesomeness that was everything she was about. Jessi was one of those people that she cared about everyone. She wanted to give as much as she could. She wanted to teach as many skills as she could. So on March 16th, we will open up the auction. The auction will go until it ends, and we hope to raise a lot of money for the Jessi Combs Foundation. So it's so amazing. The auction is done. We were able to raise roughly $3,000 for the foundation. I'm really excited. My frame has an amazing new home, and I can't wait to see it in place. Everyone is really excited to see their frames go to their new owners, and we're just so appreciative of everyone that donated, everyone that helped spread the word about the foundation, about the auction, everyone that showed support along the way. Thank you so much. And for those of you that weren't able to join in the auction but decided to donate instead, we appreciate you so much. Every dollar is going to help the Jessi Combs Foundation make a larger impact, and I know that they appreciate it as well. So thank you all for the support. I really just cannot wait to see all of these frames in their new homes. So we'll see you soon.